it's really frustrating. And I think it sets a bad precedent and vibe for the rest of the team because let's be honest, the vibe around this team, even over the last 2 wins, has not been great. The vibe with the fan base has not been great. The expectations for this team are in the toilet right now. It's a weird place that we are currently in, and I don't know how you break the cycle other than starting to correct a lot of these issues that we keep seeing pop back up again.
Hank McCoy.
There's a couple things that we've seen kind of consistently throughout this season that the Suns have struggled with. When you look ahead to playoffs, what are some of those things you're like, I think I can live with this because I don't think it'll be an Achilles heel, or this is something that definitely has to change because it will be an Achilles heel?
I think the one thing that has to change or they have to get better with, and it's probably the one thing that I don't know if they're actually going to do better with, is the sloppy turnovers. They always talk about overpassing when they get in the lane instead of just being aggressive and looking to score, but some of the passes you look at and it's just a lazy cross-court pass. It's something where, KD or Book gets doubled and they kind of backpedal and throw some lazy, easy duck to pick off. And those are the types of plays you can't have in the playoffs because they are going to get doubled. Those guys, them and Bradley Beal, they are going to be met with a lot of force defensively. They're going to have to get off those doubles a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than they have been. And part of that, some of with KD's, is playing with bench heavy groups, and that they're not always his fault. I will say that, but he's got to be stronger with the ball. Book's got to be better with the ball. There's too many times where, like last night, Bradley Beal was dribbling up the sideline and nobody told him that somebody was sneaking up behind him.
Oh, that drove me crazy.
And it took like 4 seconds for that whole thing to develop. Like, those are things that you just can't do in the playoffs. And I think we've been, early on, it was easy to write it off and say, okay, they'll be better than this. Like, a lot of their turnovers are because they're building that familiarity with each other and chemistry. But we're at game 71 of the season now. You can't be making those same mistakes. And it feels like, we keep coming back to this sense of urgency, and it doesn't feel like they have that when it comes to taking care of the ball. It's kind of baffling, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you, G. 1,000,000%. It's all turnovers for me. And with me, you couldn't have said it better. The way I look at it, when I look at the film, it just screams focus, concentration, and awareness. Because it's stupid turnovers. It's turnovers that I would say, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but I some of it is elementary turnovers, like stuff that you teach in 6th grade basketball. For instance, the one with Brad Beal coming up, no one communicating, verbal communication. Dude, there's a guy behind you. And not only verbal communication, Brad's got to be better. We call it take a picture, right? Sometimes when you get the ball, everybody when I coach, it was turn your head, take a picture. He didn't take the picture and no one let him know. And so that's how you get that's elementary stuff. Devin Booker, yesterday, when I looked at the tape, too many and I know this isn't Devin, so I know it's fixable. But too many times he's got the ball. When the double comes, he's picking up his dribble way too early. I know Devin can, take that dribble, 2-3 dribble back, create space, hold on to his dribble. But instead, he's picking it up early, allowing a double, and then getting trapped. There was a play where Kevin was bringing the ball up and had the opportunity to continue bringing the ball up, but decided that making a pass down the court 20 feet away was the right play, and that one got turned over. So the Kevin Durant pick and roll with Drew Eubanks, where Eubanks has got his back completely turned, but Kevin robotically throws it to a spot. Eubanks never turned his head. Kevin anticipated it. At the end of the day, you can blame 2 people. Maybe Eubanks has got to be aware that it's coming, but ultimately the guy with the ball has the most responsibility, and he has the ability to say, no, I'm not making that pass because this guy's not ready for it. And to me, these are so fixable. So I can't live with it, but I am confident it could get fixed.
Well, and with that particular situation with KD and Eubanks too, I think early on in the season, it was fine for KD to do things like that to kind of help him understand where he needs to be or where KD wants him to be in those situations. But now it's just you're giving up a possession, basically. If Eubanks if the chemistry between those two, because KD does play with him quite often, if it's not there yet to where they fully understand where each other, their tendencies or where they need to be or whatever it may be, don't give the ball away though. do something else, you know? And I'm not saying that's Katie's fault.
No,
I'm
it's
just saying,
not Katie's fault.
I think at some point you got to pivot from trying to make sure, like, if that's the plan you want and it's just not working, you just can't keep going to it.
And it's weird because Katie played hardly any games in the regular season last year. It was like 10. And he had that chemistry with Jock almost immediately, where he doesn't seem to have it with Eubanks, which is, you know.
But that happens sometimes.
No, it does, because
you know
some guys just vibe, some don't.
Yeah.
Some just instinctually know how to do these little things, you know. And I think it's more on Eubanks because we saw it work real easily with Jock last year.
I mean, you could even look at Nurk and how he plays, but I think the difference is like everything that I have been telling you guys as far as like what everyone says about Nurk behind the scenes is early on, like first practices that they were, Nurk was stopping stuff, making sure he understood exactly what Book wanted, what Katie wanted, what Beal wanted, and was overly like, I need to understand this. The effort to make sure that the chemistry with those guys was there and there quickly, without a doubt. That's what Nurk was doing. And not everyone's built the same way in that sense. Maybe it just takes a little bit longer for some guys, and maybe Drew Eubanks is one of those guys that it just doesn't click exactly the way that you hope it would.
Yeah, and the turnover thing for me is concerning because of all these reasons that we mentioned, but also because it's going to take an internal fix to solve. Like, people are going to keep harping on we need a point guard thing. It's because we don't have a point guard. If you look at the turnovers, a point guard is not going to cut down on, you know, KD throwing some of these passes or Book throwing some of these passes. You want the ball in the hands of your top three players. And even if a point guard's setting them up, they're still going to have to make some of these decisions when they're hit with double teams or when they're in the pick and roll, because you want them to be in those situations as your best scorers. So that's what's concerning to me is like KD last night, 5 turnovers, Beal last night, 5 turnovers, Nurk 2, Book 2. Like, it's too many for those guys. And the other thing is like, okay, yes, you're 25th, I think, in turnovers per game as a team, but you're 28th in opponent points off turnovers from those. Like, the transition defense in those turnovers is what's really killing you, because so many of them are live balls. So many of them are pick sixes where you see Durant or Book just like trot back and give up on a play. And that's the most frustrating part, is even if you're not like, this isn't, you know, 6th grade basketball where you're saying like, everybody get back, everybody sprint back. Like, we know in the NBA, if you get picked off like that, it's probably going to be a dunk even if you sprint back. But there have been some where it gets picked off early in the play and guys just jog back and they give up a pull-up 3 in transition because nobody's matched up or because nobody is actually running back, turning and sprinting like 6th grade basketball. It's really frustrating, and I think it sets a bad precedent and vibe for the rest of the team, because let's be honest, the vibe around this team, even over the last 2 wins, has not been great. The vibe with the fan base has not been great. The expectations for this team are in the toilet right now. It's a weird place that we are currently in, and I don't know how you break the cycle other than starting to correct a lot of these issues that we keep seeing pop back up again.